Johan van Oldenbarnevelt, a name that sounds very familiar to a lot of Dutch people. Maybe you've seen his name on street signs or heard of him in history lessons. But what did this man do in his life and what did it mean to the Dutch state? We're going to find it out today on Old News. Hello everyone and welcome to Old News. Today we're going to take a look at the life of Johan van Oldenbarnevelt. This year it is exactly 400 years ago that he was beheaded in The Hague. But first we're going to take a look at his early life and events that led to his beheading. Van Oldenbarnevelt was born on the 14th of September 1547 in a town called Amersfoort. We don't actually know a lot about his youth because there are no actual sources who tell us anything about it. The only source that we do have is Van Oldenbarnevelt's own Remonstrantie that he wrote in 1618. There he tells a little bit about his early life, but we do know that he liked to exaggerate quite a lot. In this Remonstrantie he claimed to be of noble birth, but no official records actually confirm this. What we also know from several criminal records is that his father's name was Geert. In these criminal records it says that his father was publicly drunk on Sundays, threatened people and also attempted one homicide. That is why he got the nickname Simple Gerrit in Amersfoort. Van Oldenbarnevelt finished his Latin school at the age of 17 in Amersfoort. And this Latin school was meant for boys from the middle class of society who were prepared for a religious office or to go to university. From the age of 17 till 19 he worked for a lawyer, and after that he went to the University of Leuven. In his years that he was at Leuven University, where he studied at the Faculty of Law, he went to the University of Heidelberg in 1568. And Heidelberg University was the international center for the new Protestant faith. And it is here that Van Oldenbarnevelt turned his back on Catholicism. In the year 1568, the 80 Years' War broke out in the Netherlands. And the Netherlands back then were part of the Holy Roman Empire under Emperor Charles V. This empire was officially a Catholic empire, and the Netherlands at the time were Protestant and thus rebelled against their overlord, men could say. On the 3rd of August 1574, Van Oldenbarnevelt met with William of Orange on the dike at Capelle aan de IJssel. A few days before that, Van Oldenbarnevelt got a very special and important promotion. He became the official commissioner to pierce the dikes for the 80 Years' War, and that was eventually quite important for the liberation of Leiden during this war. In 1579, Van Oldenbarnevelt could be found at the Union of Utrecht. It is at this union that the most northern provinces of the Netherlands gathered under one Protestant banner. And from 1580 he could also be found at the Staten-Generaal, and that was the administrative body of the Union. It was here that the superiors saw his talent for getting things done, and he got a lot of very important tasks to do after this. In 1584 something terrible happened. William of Orange was murdered at Delft. And the regions of Holland and the other provinces wondered who could lead them now. And this is where Van Oldenbarnevelt stepped in and brought answers. While searching for a new monarch didn't work, the provinces took the matter into their own hands, and in 1588 the Dutch Republic was born. In 1590 the Dutch Republic got a very talented new army commander called Maurits of Orange. Maurits managed to, together with a few soldiers, to reclaim Breda in the name of the rebels. And van Oldenbarnevelt, who at that time became the new land advocate of the Republic, led the Republic together with Maurits quite successfully during the 80 Years' War. It was only at the end of the 16th century, in the last 10 years, that the treasury of the Republic slowly ran dry. And that was partly because of the costs of the war, but also because of raiders on the sea near Dunkirk, who raided the Dutch trading fleet. Van Oldenbarnevelt thought it was a great plan to march an army down there and try and stop these raiders from raiding the Dutch fleet. This, well, was of course quite a plan after all, and Maurits at first didn't agree, but eventually he came to terms with van Oldenbarnevelt and agreed, and went down there with quite a big army. But they were intercepted by a large Spanish army, and a large battle took place near Newport. And this battle was barely won by Maurits, but made him a very famous army leader in the rest of Europe. In 1607, peace agreements were discussed between Spain and the Dutch Republic. This brought up a new set of problems for the Republic, for example, internal religious conflict. Van Oldenbarnevelt and a lot of other merchants from Holland wanted to sue for peace because it would benefit the trade, but not without setting some terms first. Van Oldenbarnevelt wanted the Dutch Republic to be recognized by the Holy Roman Empire, and the new Protestant faith would be or should be accepted by this emperor. While Van Oldenbarnevelt wanted to do this, Maurits, on the other hand, didn't really trust the Spanish or that they would keep their end of the bargain. Also, Van Oldenbarnevelt quite relied on his position as army commander of the Dutch Republic, and a lot of prestige came from being an army commander, and he would lose this if the war ended. The peace negotiations didn't work out that well because of the different opinions within the Republic itself, but in 1609 Van Oldenbarnevelt signed a sort of peace treaty in Antwerp for 12 years, known in Dutch as the 12-jarig bestand. It was here that at least some sort of form of a peace treaty was signed for these 12 years, but Maurits didn't agree, as I told before, and you see from here on forward the relationship between Van Oldenbarnevelt and Maurits worsened through the years. At the end of the 16th century, a division arose within the Orthodox Calvinistic faith, which at that time was the state religion of the Dutch Republic. It had namely to do with one thing within that faith called predestination. And predestination means, according to the Orthodox Calvinistic faith, that one could not alter his own fate. It doesn't matter how virtuous you live, your fate is settled. And there were two parties actually who disagreed or had different opinions on this within this faith. On one hand you have Arminius, who believed that one could alter his fate if he or she lived virtuously. And with that he put himself on a more Catholic side of this discussion, because the Catholics believed that one could alter their fate if they lived virtuously. On the other hand, we have Gomarus, who believed that you, like most of the Orthodox Calvinistic people, that you could not alter your fate. And this was a division that arose in this period in the Dutch Republic. The second point on which these two scholars conflicted was the position of the Dutch state and the church and the relation to one another. Arminius believed that the Dutch state stood above the church, where Gomarus said that the Dutch state only had power on worldly matters. It was here that this conflict arose, or another conflict arose, and they both got a lot of support here in the Dutch Republic. And we could say from then on the followers of Arminius could be called remonstrants, and the followers of Gomarus were called counter-remonstrants. During this conflict, the inhabitants of the Dutch Republic of course looked at their leaders, and van Oldenbarnevelt, led by his political interests, didn't at first see the impact of this conflict on a political level, and he therefore chose more from a political view than a religious view. He sided with Arminius because he believed that the way Arminius saw this conflict would benefit the Dutch state by bringing peace and unity. Maurits, on the other hand, he didn't really differ that much from van Oldenbarnevelt on religious level, but he chose Gomarus' side because of his orthodox Calvinistic upbringing, and he chose from a more religious point of view. Well, this led, of course, for a division between these two leaders in the Netherlands. This conflict thickened with the leaders choosing their sides, and Maurits made a bold move by occupying a remonstrant church in The Hague. Van Oldenbarnevelt reacted to this, somewhat bold move by making a bold move of his own. He issued the so-called sharp resolution in a lot of Dutch cities. This sharp resolution meant that a lot of Dutch cities were allowed to hire their own cheap soldiers to maintain order in these cities, especially against counter-remonstrant uprisings. This normally was a task of the army commander, in this case Maurits. Well, this action of van Oldenbarnevelt led to his arrest by Maurits. And on the 13th of May 1619, van Oldenbarnevelt was beheaded in The Hague. According to some sources, his famous last words were, "I was always a good patriot." We've now looked at the life of quite a famous Dutch person who did a lot during the 80 Years' War. What we also like is to do our research correct, so we've made all the sources that we used to make this video available in the description below. Would you like to see more of these videos? Then please give this video a like, or subscribe to our channel, or look on our Facebook or Instagram. You can find those links in the description as well. Well, we hope to see you next time on Old News.